Well, guys, while Hampton Beach certainly isn't empty, business owners say it's a lot quieter than usual. And the reason why is partly linked to international tensions.
Partly linked to international tensions? Are you kidding me? That's not journalism, that's damage control. The boycott isn't some minor footnote. It's the main reason Canadians are staying out of the US, and the media knows it. They're just too afraid to say it out loud. Welcome back. Today we're exposing more reports that bury the truth and pretend this drop in US travel is no big deal. Meanwhile, Canadian tourism is thriving because people are choosing to spend their money at home. If you care about pushing back on this nonsense, hit the like and subscribe button so more Canadians can see through the noise. It will help our channel to get noticed by other Canadians and allied countries. Let's get into it.
Some are concerned that Canadian tourists are cooling on New Hampshire due to the president's ongoing feud with Canada.
Now, business owners in Hampton Beach are already feeling the impact of these tariffs. That's where we find NBC 10's Mary Marcos with more on what they had to say. Mary.
Well, guys, while Hampton Beach certainly isn't empty, business owners say it's a lot quieter than usual. And the reason why is partly linked to international tensions. From ice cream scoops to henna tattoos, Hampton Beach is usually a hotspot for Canadian tourists.
Obviously, they bring a lot of business to us. They help, keep us running.
But the holiday weekend crowds aren't quite what they used to be.
When I first started in 1984, the hotel was full for Memorial Day weekend, 3-night minimum by February 15th. Now it's all weather.
We were hoping for a better turnout, but we didn't quite get to where we wanted.
Why didn't you get the turnout you expected? Maybe it's your president openly threatening to annex Canada. Maybe it's the tariffs you slapped on us and other countries for no good reason. And no, don't blame the Canadian dollar. That excuse is lazy. Millions of Canadians are still traveling, just not to the US. They're going elsewhere on purpose. It honestly drives me up the wall when people in the comments claim it's all about currency. It's not. It's about respect.
Hotels are typically booked for most of the summer by now, but this year they have some vacancies to fill.
We still have a couple openings, and I've heard that's kind of the scenario across the strip. So it's kind of taking a little hit.
That's partly because the number of Canadian cars crossing the New Hampshire border dropped by 49% last month, according to Statistics Canada.
In February, it was down by 18.2%. And then in March, it was 31.8%.
The smaller crowds reflect ongoing tensions between the two countries, fueled by President Donald Trump's tariffs and talk of making Canada a 51st state.
Quebec and New Hampshire have been best friends for 250 years. So we won't let politics ruin it. If you don't come this year, you'll come next year or the year after.
Is it just me, or does this guy sound smug? Saying we'll be back next year or the year after, like nothing's changed. That's pure arrogance. It shows zero respect for Canadians or the threats coming from his own president. He's not a friend. He just wants the tourism money. If you were a real ally and friend, you'd call out what's happening, not brush it off. But this just adds fuel to the boycott. Let's get into the next clip.
It is an American paradise by the beach, which is a Canadian summertime favorite. And you don't have to look far around Old Orchard Beach, Maine on this long Memorial Day weekend to find touches of Canada all around.
We are ready to welcome our Canadian visitors, some that have been coming for generations.
Kim Howard is executive director of the Old Orchard Beach Chamber of Commerce, representing businesses within this coastal community, which sees up to 40% of its tourists come from Canada each year. Usually, it's the value of the Canadian dollar or weather that are top of mind here. Right now, it is a trade war.
I think overall in Old Orchard Beach, we feel cautiously optimistic.
Here we go again, blaming it on the trade war. It's not that. And this right here is my biggest issue with the US media. They keep dodging the real reason. Tell me in the comments, does it bother you as much as it bothers me when they ignore the 51st state rhetoric? Because that's why so many Canadians are staying out.
Perhaps more optimistic than earlier this year when Canadian cancellations were piling up.
Back in March, it was looking very grim.
Sterling Morris is owner of the family-run Point of View Inn, just a short walk from the beach. Morris says almost all of his Canadian clients who are pre-booked for this year began to contact him in late winter, early spring to politely decline another stay this summer.
I've changed up quite a few minds, Canadian minds, to reverse their cancellations.
Morris says the current political climate has helped to turn the tide as well.
The temperature has come down quite a bit. With regards to the rhetoric and things that you guys were experiencing early on, you know, sort of the tensions that had been starting to mount and brew.
Canadian tourism numbers tend to pick up here around June when Quebec residents flock to Old Orchard Beach for the St. John Baptiste long weekend. Those strong Canadian numbers continue right through to Labor Day. At least that's how it's been till now. While Sterling Morris says the situation has improved, he's still preparing for a down season.
I think it's going to be a bit sort of depressed in terms of, you know, reservations.
Old Orchard Beach is open and we are ready to welcome our Canadian visitors whenever they'd like to come.
Let me translate what she's really saying. We need Canadians to come spend money here because we're struggling. That's the real message. And look, I don't want anyone to suffer. I want normal relations again. But what gets to me is how U.S. media and even local business owners keep dodging the real reason Canadians are angry. It's not just tariffs. It's not just trade. It's the annexation threats. Just say it. Until that happens, they're not getting my business. Now, on a more positive note, it's great to see more Canadians and even international tourists redirecting their plans to Canada. Up next, an update from Halifax, where tourism is seeing a real boost.
Canada's tourism operators are forecasting a busy summer season, and their numbers are already up, especially in the Atlantic region. CTV's Paul Hollingsworth shows us how a reluctance to travel to the U.S. is taking Canadian and international visitors across our country.
Michelle Bilodeau is spending the day taking pictures along the Halifax waterfront, living the life of a tourist.
Last year, that was my bucket list item. I traveled, drove to all provinces, basically.
Born in Quebec, Bilodeau now lives in southern Ontario. He loves to travel within Canada and has chosen to suspend any trips to the U.S.
I don't feel like I'll be going for a while, for sure.
Bilodeau's travel habits fit a growing trend.
The Canadian business is up like we've never seen before. I mean, Canadians are traveling within Canada.
Because of the weak Canadian dollar, travelers from south of the border and abroad are also coming here in growing numbers.
The European business is way up as well because there's so many direct flights from, to all over Europe into Halifax.
Big shout out to our European viewers and a genuine thank you for the support. It's great to see more Europeans choosing Canada. And honestly, a lot of people I know have done the opposite too, canceling their US trips and heading to Europe instead. That's what mutual respect looks like.
And then, they come to Halifax, but then they go all around the Maritimes and Atlantic Canada.
Dalhousie University professor Lauren Sheehan specializes in tourism management and sustainability. Sheehan says Canadians are now 20% less likely to travel to the U.S. compared to last year.
If you look at land border crossing numbers, it's even more significant. Even fewer Canadians are crossing the border.
A shift from north-south tourism travel to a pattern of Canadians traveling more within our country may not be a short-term trend. According to Sheehan, concerns over tariffs and Donald Trump's threats to make Canada the 51st state are likely enough to keep many Canadians away from the U.S. for a prolonged period.
There's the economic piece, and then there's, quite honestly, the feeling of betrayal, not from Americans, but from the American administration.
For now, Bilodeau is happy to spend his tourism dollars in Canada. His phone is filled with pictures from his favorite places.
We got such a wide, large country.
Bilodeau encourages Canadians to follow his lead, travel cross-country, and see the sights Canada has to offer.